fangirls found out. Black Butler. Oh, Black Butler. Where should I start? Well, let's not beat around the bush here. I love this anime. No suspense, no waiting to the last minute to say my real thoughts. I like it. That's it. And then at the same time, I hate it so much! So, what's the story? Well, one day in Victoria-era England, because present England is just so last century, a young boy named CL Phantom Hive gets the worst birthday present of his life. A fire starts in his mansion, destroying the entire building and causing the death of his two parents. Later, in a moment near death and lost in despair, a demon offers CL a life-altering deal. His greatest wish in exchange for his immortal soul. CL takes the offer, wishing to exact revenge on the people who killed his family. The demon then becomes CL's butler under the name Sebastian Michaelis, and vows to serve CL until he reaches his goal, at which point he will eat his soul. A month after the fire, CL returns to take the position of the head of the Phantom Hive Corporation and also take the role of the Queen's Guard dog, while at the same time playing detective for the parents' murderers, a boy of many hats. Plot-wise, the idea is ingeniously dark and gothic. The whole purpose of the show is the discovery of CL's parents' murderers, which leads to a lot of Sherlock-worthy moments. The mystery element of the show is always handled well, leaving the viewer guessing. It's not the best work of mystery, but it is definitely enough to entertain the viewer throughout the 24 episodes. But of course, being that the show is 24 episodes long, a good chunk of the show leads to only discovering accomplices to the case, or sometimes people who had little or nothing to deal with the deaths at all. But it's understandable and handled in an entertaining enough way to keep the viewer engrossed. I will admit the supernatural element with all the demons and even reapers makes some of the solutions or problem solving a bit out there consequentially, but it never does so in a distracting way. By the end of the first 2 episodes, the show introduces you to the world in a believable way, and even uses this to its advantage, creating an even darker atmosphere and story. And that's one strong compliment to the show. Sure, I can call it cute and comedic for a good portion of the show, and that is a big draw. However, it only really is there as a way to lighten up the very disturbing tone of the show. Throughout the run of Black Butler, the viewer knows the closer we get to catching the murderers, the closer CL's death is. With the deal made with Sebastian, the audience forever knows when CL's life goal is reached, his end is too, and that thought is constantly dangling in the back of the viewer's mind. Everyone in CL's favor is a reminder that he will die, and the more attached you become to the character, the more you want him to win. The more headway he makes, the closer he is to death, making the viewer conflicted in watching it. You want him to win because you empathize with his strong desire too, but you don't want him to die because of the attachment to him. It's really sad when you think about it and adds a lot more to the show. Sure, it has a dark and gothic atmosphere and premise, but the adding of the fatal death with the demon creates something more within the story and makes it more memorable in my book. But the creators must have realized this and decided to balance it out with lots of slapstick comedy and B-sheets for your viewing pleasure.
Fan service.
But even that becomes a guilty pleasure for me because it really is entertaining. Some may call it grating, but with such a dark premise, it's actually needed in my opinion to break up the somewhat mood-turning show. And it's done well, and even the Bishi slash let's get the yaoi fangirls interested moments are done well and in taste, so even if you're not a fujoshi, you can appreciate the fan service for the comedy it brings. Oh, and for Grub.
Oh, yes! All the world's a stage, and I am a player, navigating the brutal, bloody battlefield that is love. Yes, man and man together in a tragic play.
The characters are a great draw to the show, too. CL is a headstrong, clever boy given the job many adults could not even handle. Coupled with the fact of his never-ending quest to revenge makes him the Hamlet-type character, but the character never questions his goal or gives up on it, while even knowing that with his success will lead to his death. This makes him slightly unrealistic, but at the same time more engrossing. For such a person to exist, the inner workings of his mind have to be a complex, depressing mechanism. And it is! He is a child genius who would be able to hold his own with the likes of Light and Lelouch. However, unlike them, we would never find Sale in as much as a gray area when it comes to morals, excluding the deal with the demon thing. His objective, while morbid, is valiant in its own right, and even if he sometimes does some not child-friendly things for his objective, he does what he can to keep innocents out of harm's way, making him more human and relatable. Sebastian can be best described as the title to each episode describes, unquestionably perfect.
Now, Bradley 101, didn't you bash Easy-Oi for the same reason?
Well, hold on to that comment because there are many reasons to why Sebastian is more enjoyable when compared to such overly powered characters like Easy-Oi. First of all, is this character design.
Fan service.
But while Sebastian is perfect in everything he does, it works in the show's favor. Once again, remember though CL has power and brains, he still is a 12-year-old boy. In terms of strength and sometimes even in knowledge, he is not fully developed, making Sebastian almost essential to the show in order to carry out many of the missions for both the Queen and CL's personal vendetta. And though powerful, a good half of the challenges involve mind games and strategy, for CL mainly giving the journey more depth and even challenge. Sebastian can be challenged. Doesn't mean he'll lose. And he won't, but he is challenged. Not only that, but his personality is charming, which is probably why the internet is riddled with fan art. Nonetheless, once again adding to the dark element of the show, the audience is constantly let know no matter what he does, no matter how much he works to help CL, it is not truly out of kindness. Sebastian also has his own personal vendetta, which is pretty much to get his dinner. Yeah, a sort of caring relationship is created between the two, but the show would sometimes drop subtle reminders that no matter what he feels, he will eat CL and feel satisfaction in doing so. And that isn't a spoiler. It's said in the beginning of the show. So yeah. The other characters range from just there to I wish there was more of them. You're gonna find someone to like within the cast, mine being Lao, strangely, and of course Grub. The animation is nothing special. When it needs to be fluid, it does just enough, but isn't strong enough to write home about. What I will write home about, though, is the gothic art style. To accompany this tragic tale, the designs of the backgrounds and sometimes even the people is used well. And though most of the show is dark, it's used well and never becomes monotonous. This show really likes blacks, grays, and reds, and uses it to its advantage when it needs to. Its design of London is eye-catching enough to once in a while be taken in by the foggy world and feel the descent of darkness whenever the plot needed to. The CG is sometimes weird. The music is done by Taku Iwasaki, whose work I especially enjoyed in Soul Eater, which is a pretty underrated score in my opinion. The music uses a lot of string instruments and synths, coupled with what I can only guess to be monks praying and the voice of my nightmares. Though sometimes the mix leads to very strange results, most of it, and I know I'm sounding repetitive, really matches the gloomy atmosphere. But when the show decides to lighten up and create some comic or fan service moments, it works very well. The dub is honestly something that really boils down to opinion and personal preferences. Personally, I like it, but I know a lot of people who say that Brina Palencia CL is too feminine and Greg Aris's Soma sounds like Apu, and though I agree, it never distracted me. Sound of a voice is important, but the portrayal of a character is just as important in my book, and with all the characters, they mostly give strong performances, and my girl Brina pulls off the child genius pretty well even if the character sounds a bit girlish. I won't outright say which is better because it's really a preference thing, and I know enough fans of the show that both love and bash it to the point it's 50-50. Though in my opinion, I see no real reason to dislike the dub. J. Michael Tatum does a wonderful Sebastian, and Daniel Frederick needs more work because I adored him as Grell, but my Ren made my ears bleed.
Ooh, that's a good idea!
And it may also be because I found her annoying in general. Oh well. So overall, there's a lot to enjoy here. Some parts can be gruesome and some unsettling, and if you are a highly religious person, the whole demon thing may turn you away, but overall the show is good. The premise is solid and keeps me absorbed. The music and animation work well with the comedy and really well with the mystery and horror. The dub is debatable, but I see no harm in it, and the ending is really well done and maybe one of my favorite in all. Oh wait. Hate. Why bring it up now? Let's save it for later. So, grading the show based on plot, characters, animation, and my overall enjoyment, I give Black Butler 8 meat pies out of 10. People who watch the show will understand that one. Sadly. And also, it passes the class of Bradley 101, which means I give it my full recommendation. If you found pleasure in this anime and are looking for others like it to fill the void rather than watching this mistake, I recommend Death Note, Chrono Crusade, and Nabari no Ode.
I'm Bradley101, ending this review because the fangirls are back. Okay guys, I'm done talking about Black Butler, but I have my other reviews so you can go watch those.